Welcome everybody to another episode of Circle of the Earth Fellowship. We got another one. It's in the name. We're talking about the Earth today, and it's quite a big important topic. We kind of talked about it a little bit last time, and how the stage in which the prophecy, which this whole thing that the Father set up, the stage is important to the topic, and so. Even though we talked about the firmament last week, this week we're going to be talking about the earth itself. But like always, before we get into that, let's go ahead and say... Oh, wrong one. That's supposed to be over here. Just apologize, everyone. Give me 1 second. And y'all are seeing the wrong logo. Perfect. Get that over there. There we go. Sweet. So we'll say hello to everyone on the panel, and then we'll get into the show. So first up, we got Maggie and Shamgar back with us. Welcome, brother. Welcome, sister. Good to see you.
Great Shabbat.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, I'm having a good Shabbat. It's pretty laid back and chill, and I'm pretty down to earth today.
Hey, that's always good.
Down to earth, little. That's funny.
It's so funny. Awesome. Well, welcome. Let's jump over to you, Marcia. Welcome, sister. Good to see you.
Yeah, I can't see you, but it's good to see you.
Yeah, you were telling me you got some cataract surgery, so blessings for quick recovery. Everyone have Marcia in your prayers that would be the case, but I'm glad you're a trooper and you're sticking it out and joining us, so it's good to see you as always.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Nice. Hey, everyone.
Well, next up we got our dear brother Robert. How you doing? Shabbat shalom, or shalom to you, I should say.
Right, shalom. So what? We talked about the firmament. We talked about water. I think it looks like we're talking about all these elements of all the parts that Yahweh created, and is all working all together for all of us, right?
Yeah, in so many different ways. It's like how we are blessed by this creation and unfold at times, and there's a lot of stuff that we don't see, or we see so much that we can take for granted, right? Like the rain. But that's a whole intricate system that he made to bring us fresh water, to the land. So I'm pretty stoked to talk about it. So welcome, brother. Let's jump over to Kyle. Good to see you as always, brother. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Good to see you as well, brother. Good to be here with you guys. I love this topic. Of course, this is where everything happens. We are on Earth, and unlike what they tried to tell you, there is only one Earth, and we're on it. So, and unfortunately with groups of Christianity, they also teach that, once we receive our inheritance, is that we go to some other place that's not, not what we know here. When in fact, everything is central to the earth. Everything happens on the earth, and our inheritance is the earth. The meek shall inherit the earth. So it's a really important topic that they have tried to use many different methods of deceiving us into believing it is something that it's not, that it's older than it is, and the entire background of what we're taught is just kind of a fabrication. So let's get into exposing some of that.
Yeah, how dare you believe that it was this intricately created creation as opposed to just things that randomly happen? Like, what do you think, you're special or something, Kyle?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess we're all special. Just the center of the universe.
Yeah. What are we, the center of the universe? The peak of all of the Creator's creations? How dare you? Well, exactly, man. You brought up so many good points, and like always, we will get into those. But real quick, let's get a little housekeeping out of the way, and we've condensed this from what we used to do, so hopefully y'all are enjoying the quicker, faster rendition of this. Let me pull it up on my side so I can show y'all. So first and foremost, we are streaming live not only on our own channel, but also on Take on the World. So we like to give, always take a second to shout out to Chris and Liz Bailey over on Take on the World, as they give us, the ability to come and on their platform and share our pieces of the puzzle with their community. So we always want to show gratitude. And like I was saying, we do have our own channel if you are on Take on the World and you would like to support us as well, which is Circle of the Earth Fellowship. It's at CEF Fellowship on YouTube, so you can just Google that. We recently began new supporters, so thank you to all the new subscribers. We're up to 1229, almost past that 30 mark, and ever so headed towards that 2,000 goal. And remember, when we hit that 2,000 goal, we're going to do another giveaway. We give away a a shofar at 500. We gave a Sefer Bible away at 1,000, and we'll give something cool as well away at 2,000. So if you would like to throw us a sub and support the channel, that'd be cool. There are a couple other ways that you can watch us and or support us. We are over on Lighthouse. So if you're interested in joining, you can do that on Circle of the Earth Fellowship channel. And thank you to Marsha, Tracy, and Robert. Let you know they did fix the issues that they were having, so I believe the system is good to work. So if you'd like to support and get more of that to get to me to help pay for all the programs and everything, that's the way you do it. If you'd like to support and kind of get some cool merch out of it as well, we do have a merch shop, so again, link is in the description. And then last but not least, we are having this conversation as well as our after shows and our readings on Sundays for Peace Seekers all happen on Discord. So if you're interested in joining that community, seeing recipes and memes and sharing other content creators, definitely check that out if you're interested. Okay, sweet. We can go ahead and just get rid of that and kind of set the stage for the stage that we're going to be talking about today. So, as Robert was kind of hinting, we were talking about the water, right, which is above the firmament. We talked about the firmament itself last week, and now we're talking about that which is under the firmament, which is the earth, and that is where we live. And as Kyle was pointing out, over and over and over, we are told that the earth is our inheritance. And not only that, we have a high priest, a king of Lord of Lords, Yeshua HaMashiach, who will come back one day. And when he comes back and he brings his kingdom, not only is this his inheritance, but it's a shared inheritance. As his father let him sit on as the father let his son sit on the father's throne, so will the son let us sit on his throne. And so this earth is very important, not only to the story, but to our inheritance. And I think it definitely, we've talked about the earth, we've talked about the flat earth, we talked about so many different aspects of it, but we're going to kind of consolidate it a little bit more into this one. And I'm super excited because the earth has given and gives us so much. And so it's a very awesome part of the Father's creation. So I don't think what did you think about the earth then and now, right? It's pretty much like, I thought it was a globe, now I think it's not a globe, right? So that may not be a very poignant question in this conversation. So let's kind of just push off and start showing some stuff that I think is very, very interesting. Okay, before we start sharing it, let's have a little dialogue. So to me, and I'd love chime in, bring up, add in whatever you'd like as I'm kind of ranting here. Please feel free to interrupt me. But what's so cool to me about the earth is not only all the systems that are on top of each other that are all in themselves very intricate and very detailed, and but you have all these systems that are stacked upon each other, and while each one is individually, separate, they are also interconnected in such a fine degree that systems on top of systems are required in order for the processes that need to be, to take place to occur. And you can think about multiple different types of ecosystems and the complexity of those ecosystems. And we have the huge biodiversity that we do have on Earth mixed with those complex ecosystems. It starts to paint a picture of a creator. Now, for me personally, it was actually science where I actually would see God. Now, not in the theoretical science, but in the biological, observable science, like animals, like ecosystems, and things like that. And so, to me, it's so very interesting to talk about this subject because I think, and I was kind of alluding to this before, there's so many systems that we, again, see every day, or systems that we don't see taking place that can easily be overlooked, can easily be taken for granted. And yet these beautiful, magical symphonies and, for lack of a better term, mechanical devices are all around us, working in conjunction with the Creator's will in order to sustain life on this earth in such a complex system, right, that everything is all in one. The air that we need to breathe, the water we need to drink, the food that we need for sustenance is all provided here, and it's all provided here on earth in abundance. And maybe Maggie and Shamgar can speak to this, to farming, right? You put one wheat seed in the grass and you get multiple stalks of wheat that then each has dozens and dozens of other grain, or depending on what you're farming, right? And so you plant one apple seed. I know it's not a true seed, so you don't always get a good tasting apple. But what my point is each apple seed doesn't just then produce one more apple seed. Each grain of wheat doesn't then just produce one wheat. It produces in abundance and over in abundance, right? To where your silos don't have the space for it, whatever the case might be. So to me, it's such a beautiful topic. There's so many intricacies and so much minutia and nuance in what we have been given. And like I was saying before we started stream, it's very easy to then just look at it as if you took a puddle of water and you kept shoveling some dirt into it, right? Like eventually that dirt is going to be above that water level and you're going to have land. But I think what is under us is such more of a complex system. We have water pipes and lava pipes that carries water from this place to this place. We have fresh water coming out of the mountains. Like, how did the water get up to then come down? Where did it come from, right? There's all of these beautiful, again, systems in place. And so that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And obviously for so many reasons, right? We were crafted, if you look at there at Robert's picture, we were crafted after that, off of that very dirt, right? Like where we stand, we're so much more connected to what this place is than just a meat sack amoeba on a speck of dust in an ever-expanding endless void, right? We're much more beautiful than that. As we can see painted in our skies, in our mountains, in our oceans every day. Sweet. Okay. A little bit. Go ahead.
And it's like you said, Vader, the life is in the soil. And you see that a lot in agriculture. You've got to take care of the land for it to produce. And following the Father, you lay your land out like He says. You take care of the ground and steward it the way that He prescribed you to do it, and that land will provide for you.
Which is insane, right? It again, you can easily view it as this just inanimate object, right? Excuse me. But like you said, it's kind of like animal husbandry, where you have to steward the land. You have to take care of it. It's not just this inanimate object, this rock, right? It's literally this living and breathing organism that if you don't take care of, it will perish. It will die. It will not produce. And it's so crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Yahweh says 7 years let the land rest. Why are we letting dirt rest? Why we let our car rest? We let metal, or but yeah, it says to let the land rest. So it's interesting there. You right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rocks aren't always going to sleep on time, are they?
Well, all the planning, to continue on with what you said earlier from a creator's perspective, all the intricacies in life, I'm not a programmer, but understanding the basic concepts to continue on with life, it's so complex to think of the Father who sat there and created everything, how it was planned out to such detail, Rest is important. It's super important.
Yeah. Yeah, the intricacies of like how much a rabbit reproduces compared to how much a hawk reproduces, right? Compared to how much snowfall is within that ecosystem that erodes the dirt in such a way that makes it easier for the like I'm just kind of spitballing here, but you like have all these overlapping things where he knows like that spider, and this is like straight up obviously contradicting evolution and survival of the fittest in the purest form from Darwin, because like to me, how do you take a car engine, right, or a working car today and just take all those parts and put them in a big box and then just like shake the box, and then eventually you open that box and the car is completely working and put together and on, right, in the running position. It not only has all the parts it needs, but it also has the fuel that was somehow required for that machine to also be there and also to get in the gas tank and also to be sealed. It's like you have all of these complex systems all put into place. It had to be at one time. It's almost like you would, someone really smart planned this out and then executed it within 6 days.
Yeah, so many people get upset, everything going on the earth. It was all designed.
Mm-hmm. It's really that simple. And you can see it. The evidence is that Occam's razor, right? Like, it looks like it was designed. It operates as if someone designed it to operate the way it does. Well, then it probably was designed. And that's why we have these beautiful structures. I talk about evolution and things like seeing the like kind of in my background, right? Like seeing the mountains and seeing the sunset over the ocean or over the mountains, right? Like inherently we find beauty in that. Why, if there's no meaning, if this thing was just a random occurrence, then why is there any beauty behind it, right? If a rose is literally just a rose because over billions of years and uncounted amount of iterations, it finally created this beautiful flower that would attract not only insects to feed off the flower, but insects to help the flower, but insects to use the flower as a place to eat other insects, right? It's like all these complexities happen around just a single rose, yet it's quickly just, kind of, it's just random. It's pretty sad, actually.
Yeah, the entire ecosystem is irreducibly complex. You can't just remove parts of it and for it to still function again. The entire system fails. So it's just like the smallest life forms that we look at under a microscope. They all have tiny little functions that only work together, and that's exactly how this entire realm is built, and just as complex.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like let's get rid of all the bacteria and germs in the world. Okay, so you want all life to perish?
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's what would happen if you said, well, Genie, I wish that all bacteria was removed from the earth. Everything would die. So even something as simple as E. coli, right, which is all this, it's gonna get you and kill you, is important within the ecosystem in not only ourselves and our bodies, right, but also in the world as a large. So,
and something like mosquitoes even might be more important than we realize. I'm
gonna kill them.
We hate them, and we might agree with Bill Gates on exterminating them from the world. That might be the only thing we agree on sometimes, but
but then you got to think maybe mosquitoes used to be like these really friendly flies that just wanted to lick you, but then they were genetically modified to like bite you and hurt you, and they're like what we're dealing with now are Nephilim mosquitoes. Okay, sweet. All right, so let's get into sharing stuff, because not only is there like the ecosystem levels, right, but we have what, electricity here, we have rain and storms, like we have the weather systems, that whole thing. And so it's like it's easy again to see one part of it, let's say the weather, and kind of segregate it from the rest of creation, right? It's either like the weather's this way today. Well, what else is going on in the region? What else is going on in the world that you have the weather? Is it a fire that's nearby that's causing, cold weather to be trapped up instead of there's all of these intricacies, and it very much works like a machine. So I'm going to share this video with y'all. We're going to check it out together, and talk about it. Pull this up. Okay, here we go. And let's make that full screen. Okay, that's good. Okay, perfect. Here we go. Real quick, I just want to say real quick. Yes, it is like a computer, but I don't think that then means we're in a simulation. That's not what he's trying to say, I don't believe. But he is kind of using that language, I think, to kind of bridge the gap. So anyways, let's keep going.
Uh-oh.
I don't think they have sound.
Uh-oh.
I'm fixing it. I see that. I apologize, everyone. It's a whole separate one, and I forget to click it. All right, let's restart. I apologize. Here we go.
Is a galvanic cell. The anode is the source of electrons, and the cathode is where the electrons flow. Once again, we live in a quantum supercomputer. Earth is its own power source, being both a computer and a galvanic cell, a battery which powers itself. What we call the Arctic Circle is the anode, and the Antarctica ice wall is the cathode. The salt bridge which connects these two components is the vast amount of salt water that
You might want
covers
to
our
check
planet.
again. I think they're still saying
Salt
no
water
sound.
actually makes a very effective electrolytic solution to conduct electricity and move electrons from the anode to the cathode. We can demonstrate this easily by making a homemade salt water battery with its own anode and cathode. You can see here it's being used to power a clock. The ocean's salt water provides the necessary conditions for the poles to create self-perpetuating free energy anywhere, anytime. This energy exists in the aether realm, and the aether permeates everything. This free energy is what Nikola Tesla was harnessing with his inventions. Tesla knew about the Earth's generative abilities, and his inventions harnessed the electricity from the aether realm. The dome above our heads holds together the energy produced in the aether. The stars and planets are revolving sonoluminescent lights projected onto the dome that imprint the aether with the simulation's dynamic events, archetypes, and possibilities. That is what astrology is, the ever-influencing clockwork of this quantum supercomputer. So one big battery, that's what we're on. Flat Earth is one big battery. Now, to add to this understanding, we have the sun and the moon. The sun gives us the galvanic battery's energy produced from the north and south poles connected by the saltwater bridge. And the moon recycles this energy.
So you see that as soon as he poured it in, you started getting voltage. I think that's it. I think it just shows the rest of this. So yeah, so that's just to show, okay, so here's a quick little demonstration. You have the cathode, the diode, you have the salt water in the middle, right? And you have this connection, you have this energy that is being produced seemingly from nothing. And so I want to kind of keep continuing that on with this, and we'll talk a little bit after this.
Call me what you want, but guys, it is all a show. As we speak right now, as I am posting this video, CBS is live with NASA out in outer space. I literally closed my eyes and I said, God, please give me something to disprove all of this BS, because we know they never made it to outer space. We know about the firmament, and we know they never went to the moon. Okay, we know all of this. I'm watching the comments and people are commenting like, look, it's pitch black. There are no stars. And then all of a sudden, guess what NASA does? Boop, there's stars. I was screen recording and guess what I caught? I caught the green screen. Here we go. Okay, so here's a live video. He's moving around. She's telling him to fix things. You can read the comments. No one is buying this anymore. No one believes in this crap. But anyway, I had to zoom in. And that's when I saw it. Look at this. It's absolutely see-through, guys. It's see-through. I mean, if you weren't, crazy like me, you would have never noticed it. If you don't screen record and you zoom in, you can't find, look at that. Wow. Live right now on NASA, billions of tax dollars getting wasted for Hollywood productions. Look at the parts move. You can tell it's green screen. The stars aren't even... Guys, come on. Work with me here. Look at this crap. Live right now. Go check it out. It's awesome.
Earth is a realm. It is not a planet. It is an object. Therefore, it has no edge. Earth will be more easily defined as a system environment. Earth is also a machine. It is a Tesla coil. The sun and moon are powered wirelessly with the electromagnetic field, the ether. This field also suspends the celestial spheres with electromagnetic levitation. Electromagnetic levitation disproves gravity because the only force you need to counter is the electromagnetic force, not gravity. The stars are attached to the firmament.
Earth is a photoshopped CGI generated image. This is Robert Simmons, a senior analyst at NASA. He was the one that created the blue marble, and he actually admits it's photoshopped.
Essence of it. It is photoshopped, but it's have to be. It is photoshopped, but it's have to be.
Now I encourage you guys to go watch this whole video where he also states that he hits Command Z a lot. And this is exactly what that looks like. It is all just copy and pasted CGI generated images. Isn't it funny how every default image of the iPhone background was this Photoshop CGI edition of the Earth? This is how they indoctrinate you. Now, if you actually did the time to do some research and look at how all our ancient ancestors depicted the Earth, they always depicted the flat Earth and the firmament. There are dozens of documents on NASA's own website that admits that we are at a flat, non-rotating Earth. This report derives and defines a set of linearized system metrics for a rigid aircraft of constant mass flying in a stationary atmosphere over a flat, non-rotating Earth. Here's the document. You can go check this out yourself. It's on page 30. Something I also find very interesting is you go type in flat Earth backwards on Google. Look what shows up, the first search. Also extremely interesting, the man that
Alright, let's put that claim to the test. Go to Google, type in flat Earth backwards, so...
Plus, anyone can link a domain to any website if they want.
That's actually pretty interesting. That is pretty interesting, I'm not gonna lie. We just did that live. The very first thing that popped up was NASA. That's kind of weird. Okay, that is kind of weird. Did I spell it wrong? Oh, I didn't put a separation in between it. It still gives NASA. The very first thing is NASA. That's kind of weird. Alright, let's keep going.
discovered NASA has a Bible quote on his tombstone, Psalms 19:1. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament show us his handiwork. So the guy that discovered NASA has a Bible quote that directly contradicts space on his tombstone. NASA in Hebrew means to deceive, and you guys have all been deceived. The truth lies within. Peace and
moon landing. Bollocks. Can't land on the fucking moon. The moon's like it's a luminary. It's like it doesn't exist for you to drive up and land on.
You just think that was like a political play?
Oh, clearly, obviously. If you mate, go on there, if you get your phone out, look at the fucking lunar landing, honestly. You know, like now...
I have actually looked at some of those videos, and some of them...
hangers and tinfoil and fucking duct tape, come on, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, that went through an infinite vacuum to... No. We've got Wi-Fi now, yeah, and the signal's fucking dog shit. Yeah, you get a Wi-Fi call and you're like, it says 5G, but you're like, you can't hear nothing. But then this guy's got his little dial-up phone, and he's like rang the fella on the moon. They're like, oh yes, hey Houston. Like, really, honestly, you genuinely believe that as a fully grown man?
Yeah, I know, but if you tell people that schools are nothing but indoctrination camps where we were taught nothing but lies, stuff like history is a complete freaking lie. None of it's true. Dinosaurs never existed. Dragons were real though, and the earth is flat. Space is made up. All to deny Yahweh's creation and to make us feel insignificant, and we are powerful beyond measure, and we just don't know. If you tell people that and they look at you like you're crazy, I don't care. Send it.
Okay, let's take a little pause and kind of talk about some of the things we saw. So I'm gonna kind of skip back up here in the beginning. She made some good points, and we've all seen that, right? We've all seen this. This is really what I wanted to talk about, though. This quote from Nikola Tesla. He said, "The Earth is a realm. It is not a planet. It is not an object. Therefore, it has no edge." Excuse me. Earth would be more easily defined as a system environment. Earth is also a machine. It is a Tesla coil. The sun and moon are powered wirelessly with the electromagnetic field, the ether. And so, again, we're seeing, and this idea isn't new, that the Earth is this complex, is a system of complex. Oops, wrong button. The Earth is a system of complex systems, all stacked onto each other, in such perfect integration, right, that we have the abundance and biodiversity and life that we do have here on Earth. And one point that I want to kind of point out is, like, isn't it interesting now, like, as truthers, in seeing these videos, seeing all these people that we don't even know in the community, you know what I mean? Which kind of blows my mind. Like, this community of people who truly are seeking the truth of the Earth and what it is it's bigger than we think. It's worldwide.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot of people who feel and believe the same way, who have done a lot of the same research, but they aren't necessarily as open to speaking on it, and a lot of that is because they're actually very smart, because they know of the social outcasting and ostracizing that'll happen from it. Maybe there's a better way to go about it. Just kind of lightly nudge those things, rather just like a lot of us coming out and being like, the Earth is flat, And
Oh no, I did that. You're right, Kyle. Oh, you're still right.
The Earth is flat. You don't be. They're lying to you. You know what I mean? And it's it's a hard thing, right? Like, it's really that old age adage of you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right? It's not going to drink if it's not thirsty. And if people aren't thirsty for the truth, it doesn't matter how beautiful a stream you bring them to. They don't care. They're not thirsty. And so it's definitely humbling. Like, a lot of us, 2016, 2017, coming into this, we just are like, hey, everyone, you got to understand the truth of the Earth. You need to know this. And so that obviously caused a lot of chaos. But at the same time, right, it was just because how do you explain, like, you really can't explain that feeling to someone when you actually, when the last straw broke the camel's back, right, and you were just like, oh my God, this isn't what I thought it was, right? When everything in your life was saying, no, this is what it is, and then you see that preponderance of evidence, or whatever that proverbial straw was that broke the camel's back, and the scales fall off, your eyes are open, and you can no longer see the world anyways. in that same way again. I will say, I don't know about y'all, for the first few years of that transition, I would sometimes like, but really, isn't it a globe? And it's like that, Stockholm syndrome of like, no, the globe was so good to me, right?
I mean, actually, saying flat Earth to somebody, I did do that, and it was just, I was I was a nutcase. So, but I wouldn't have accepted flat Earth just like that either. Mm-hmm. If they're not open to some of the government shenanigans, you start opening your eyes to how the government isn't really telling you the truth, then you can put flat Earth on them when they start to realize that. That's how
No, totally. I can kind of see that. It's like, it's almost like we're modern churchianity in the way that they just focus on the end of the book, right? They just focus on the New Testament, the end of it, right? They don't focus on the rest of it. And I feel like we can kind of do that too, but like a lot of us were conspiracy theories well before 2016, well before we ever were introduced to the flat Earth idea. And so it's easy for us to not put in, we knew who the Federal Reserve was. We knew who the Bilderberg Group was. We knew, the Council of Foreign Relations. We knew all these things. So then to think, then at those points, right, when we were presented, hey, they've been lying to you about the Earth, we could accept that at that point, right? Because we had seen over and over that they lied, and so it's like, why would we believe liars about this one?
It's got to be in increments.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be in increments.
Slow boil.
Yep.
Slow boil.
Yeah. Unless you can just shatter the whole illusion in one, and then make them, open to
that'd be nice.
Yeah, it would be nice. Sometimes it can be like that. People are so hopelessly enamored by their delusion, but if you just, put enough preponderance of evidence in front of them that they actually start questioning everything. I mean, essentially that's what, enclosed cosmology does to anybody who wakes up to it is, you're like, okay, maybe I understood 9/11, the jabs, other conspiracies before, but that one's like, it opens up the umbrella for the deception truly at play because it covers a lot of bases. It's really an overarching conspiracy that, it's pushed in every form of media, in art, in entertainment. It's in our school system, so it's we have to battle it at every. All of it ties back in to cosmology, like the show we're doing and all the episodes. They all seem to tie back in. All the pieces are still all part of that same puzzle. So
yeah, and I think to kind of in our defense and being zealotry about the shape of the Earth, I think you kind of were nailing the nail on the head where it's that the specific topic about Earth reveals so many other things. Like, we live in this enclosed system, that throws out evolution, that throws out Darwinism, that throws out, certain let's call them evidence from the other side. It just throws them all off the table, right? Because it's proof like, no, you don't have evolution in a contained, purposely enclosed system, right? That system was designed that if there is, let's say, quote unquote, adaptation change over time, that was baked into it from the beginning. Meaning the very first dog, the very first canine, within that DNA existed all the different breeds of dogs that exist. So much, like even a better example of that is inside of Eve's ovaries, right? Existed all the genetics of every single human that has ever existed up to this point, right?
That's a good point.
So, and the same with Adam, inside of his, man bits, all of the information was there that would eventually create every single human again that is live on this earth today, and since their conception. So And that is mighty interesting, right? That you can have something in this world where it seems like entropy, order to chaos seems like it rules kind of supreme. Yet again, you have this. That's why it's not okay. And now I want to talk about this too. Now, yes, God did create the world in 6 days, right? And he rested on the 7th. That doesn't mean he just washed his hands of it. You know what I mean? He still has, in my belief, he still has an intricate part, right? Like he's setting those dials, or at least telling others to set those dials. And, and the changes and things that have happened. I don't think he's completely absent, because he created this place as a place for us, and his son. So I think he's very so much a part of it. So, sweet. All right. Anyone else got to say? We'll continue watching a few of this collab. What is it called? Compilation of ideas. All right. Let's check it out. Bring this up bigger for everyone. Oh, wrong button. Okay, here we go. Oh, messed up.
You tell people that and they look at you like you're crazy. I don't care. Send it.
NASA warns that the internet is going to be down for months, maybe even years. I already knew this was going to happen though, and it's because of this. Yes. People shit on me because I bring this map up, but
Bad language.
I promise you, it has exposed me to so much truth. People claim that this is Nazi propaganda. I don't want to get banned. But a person of color made this map, and they honestly called it a meme. The ultimate red pill. So explain to me how this could possibly be that. But in all seriousness, we are going through a massive awakening right now. And yeah, the internet could possibly go down because apparently the solar flashes are going to be taking out internet, AI, all that shit.
Again, weak language. I like how she's like, oh, the truth that, and then literally, I don't know what anything she just said has anything to do with anyone, so I'm going to skip her because she's pretty...
Mission called...
Okay, here we go.
Fun going down the rabbit hole.
Have you ever heard about Operation High Jump? Also called Task Force 68, organized by Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd. The point of this mission was to develop base locations and practical areas through Antarctica. This is all because Admiral Byrd warned the United States that they should adopt measures of protection against other aircrafts around the polar regions. So the question is, what did he see that he believed that we couldn't defend ourselves from? That we needed to go out and build bases in Antarctica for?
You guys already know that I had to make this impulse buy, and it cost way more than it should have. Let's get into it. NASA, the race to space. I'm here for it. I don't know about you. We're gonna start out strong with the NASA. Is that Saturn? I get it. Fleet liar. Yet here we are in a half century. We don't know. It's Mars. Hands on the surface of Mars. Program can stand.
I heard from a source that's actually in Iceland.
Probes on Mars.
Why does it never move? Have you ever had the question of like, why is the North Star always in the north and why does it never move? Guys, you can't make this up. If you Google this, why is the North Star always here? This is what Google says. It says because it's so close to the celestial pole, it traces out a very small circle. So the Polaris star always stays in the same spot. Guys, God's throne is right above this star. That's why it never moves. This literally proves that we're on a flat earth.
From people that are not knowledgeable about flat earth, they are trying to put the heliocentric model onto a flat earth plane, and of course it doesn't work, but they are so focused on the heliocentric model, of course, which makes sense because this is what they've been programmed to believe their entire life in schools, movies, television. So they are trying to put the heliocentric model onto a flat and stationary plane and trying to work the science and everything out from that thought process, which definitely doesn't work. because you end up asking questions that are, quite frankly, irrelevant and unnecessary. And it would really be cool to just start learning about the flat earth model, the geocentric model, with a clear and open mind, and just give it a chance. Just go from there. Just to learn about it. Just to learn what the geocentric model is. There's nothing wrong with learning more science, more ideas, because the geocentric model has been around thousands of years. And there's nothing wrong with studying and learning even historical scientific knowledge, which seems to be the really big thing of truth these days. So just have an open mind and try not to think about flat earth. Just think about geocentric model and just try and learn. That's all I'm saying.
Something trending right now is a lot of people thinking and saying that Project Blue Beam is in place. So let's do a little bit of research on it. In 1994, Serge Manis published the book.
I want to pause it real quick and talk about something about Blue Beam. This is just a random thought that came in my head the other day about the whole the last experiment and how they're going to go there and supposedly found. How easy would it be to have, you know, drones or some type of like device that could mimic 24-hour sunlight in Antarctica, and that's why there's such a big push to go down there and film it, because they've, you know, there's how many years has it been that people have been asking for this footage, and they supposedly have these, you know, cameras down there that yet they give us cut footage and never 24-hour, you know, unedited. So yeah, anyways, let's keep going.
There's a lot of people. Serge Manis published the book on Project Blue Beam. After he publishes this book in 1994, then in 1995 and 1996, he is all over the place telling us how they want to get him, that he's being hunted down, and all sorts of things like this. Now, if you were around back then, you'll remember it well. What he was being hunted down for was the following accusation: being hunted by authorities for his involvement in a network of prohibited information. There is a network to guard prohibited information from getting out. So Serge keeps on going on with his story and his book and his publications, interviews. And then in
I'm gonna skip this. I know it might be interesting, but
have now,
okay, here we go.
as Darwinian primates, having pretty much the same brains that we have now, why is it the case that for 95,000 of those years man accomplished virtually nothing? Not having invented a wheel, not having come up with a cave painting even, and then suddenly 5,000 years ago history gets started. History gets started in a lot of different places. The Egyptians, the Babylonians, the Sumerians, everybody starts inventing stuff. It does appear as if some sort of a transcendent breath may have grabbed a couple of those Darwinian primates and breathed something we might call a soul into them.
Project Bluebeam. Welcome to the deception of the future. What you're seeing here is Project Bluebeam, a high-level advanced holographic projection. They're using this technology to project images inside stadiums. Amazing, isn't it? But the question is, how will this technology be used against humanity? Well, as shown in this clip, it gives us an insight to just how powerful these holograms can be and how far they can be projected. This is where the project gets scary, because the Bluebeam project agenda to create a full-scale fake alien invasion, creating fake viral videos such as this one with objects that appear to be flying and hovering above the moon to make me and you think that aliens exist. Sounds absolutely nuts.
The funny thing is, it is going to be a fake alien invasion, but it's going to be very real. It's just not going to be aliens, and so even that, like with the Project Blue Beam, it's like, yeah, they may do that, but I definitely know Revelation 9, the fifth trumpet, first woe, is definitely going to be a real thing. It's going to be stinging people, not just hologramming people.
I know it does. Why would they be doing this? Well, the objective is to create a one governing world, a one religion, to try to get all the countries and all humanity to unite together as one, like in the movie Independence Day. Why would he do that? Take away our freedom. Don't take my word for it. It's already happening all around the world with the World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum, the Great Reset. Here's Beijing's New Year's Eve display, and here's Elon Musk's SpaceX real rocket glitching out.
All those poor astronauts who died that just happen to have a perfect doppelganger.
Oh yeah, and that school teacher. Oh.
See, I wonder how much of this is like actually you're seeing it with your real eyes opposed to being AR. I'm gonna check this out and then we'll talk some more. Go check out Tony
Evolutionists
Reed's.
use what they call the geological column as evidence that the Earth is ancient, each layer corresponding to millions of years. In a stunning example of circular reasoning, they date these layers by the fossils they contain, and they date the fossils by the layers they're in. Unfortunately for them, there is no geological column. There is no place on Earth where this supposed geological column exists other than in evolutionary textbooks. On top of this, while evolutionists often criticize creationists for having no model which makes any sort of scientific prediction, this is just one case where they couldn't be more wrong. In fact, flood geology predicts quite well how stratification can happen due to hydrological sorting. Wow. 2 theories on the stratification of the Earth. Are they both testable? Do either of them make accurate predictions? I decided to investigate.
Oh, get hype, get hype, get hype, get hype, oh.
Should uniformitarianists select the evolution hypotheses? Occam's razor states that among competing hypotheses, the one with the fewest assumptions should be selected. To select the evolutionary theory, one must assume, among other things, uniformitarianism, plate tectonics, continental drift, and the assertion of billions of years for natural forces to account for all that we see in the geological record. Flood geology, on the other hand, only requires the assumption of a worldwide flood. It doesn't even require the assumption of God. Obviously, the winner here is flood geology. Flood geology easily explains and even predicts stratification via hydrological sorting. During a flood, large amounts of dirt and sediment get swept up. In the case of a flood on a global scale, the amount of earth swept up must be proportionally greater. When sediment is swept up by water, it remains suspended for some amount of time before it slowly precipitates downward to the bottom. At first, the sediments will be uniformly suspended, but will slowly precipitate at the bottom in very distinct layers. This happens because certain sediments are heavier than others, and therefore settle faster. The first sediments to settle will be heavier items like rocks, followed by pebbles. The finer grains will remain suspended a bit longer. In the end, the sediment will all settle to the bottom in order from heaviest to lightest. If the supposed geological column showed a distribution of sediments from heavy to light, That would be slam dunk evidence for a global flood. As it happens, this is not what we see. In fact, the weight distribution in the layers alternates wildly from layer to layer. There are even large boulders commonly called erratics or drop stones which appear throughout the strata. Compounding this, there are even layers interspersed throughout which are made of material that forms under dry, arid conditions like hypersolvus and subsolvus granites, calcretes, and caliche, as well as material that requires a long period of evaporation like salt, travertine, and evaporites. Finally, we also find layers running perpendicular to each other. A worldwide flood may require only one assumption, but it doesn't explain the distribution and variance of stratigraphy in the Earth. Of course, that doesn't mean that the old Earth hypothesis wins by default. It must stand on its own merits. Let's see how well it does. The origin of the old Earth hypothesis begins with uniformitarianism proposed by James Hutton in 1785. The prevailing theory of his day was the theory of catastrophism, which proposed that the geological features of the Earth and the history of life are explained by sudden catastrophic events that had caused the extinction of many species. Hutton recognized
Hey, Vader, that sound
processes
is
at work.
terrible.
It's like terrible loud?
No,
No, it's like breaking up super bad.
It's not. It's garbly.
But it's not on the video, I don't think. It's just for us.
Oh.
It's not for the chat.
Oh, let me listen on YouTube. Okay.
Okay, let me do something real quick. Maybe this will reset it. Let's go here. Go like this. And let's share again.
Realized that the Earth was perpetually being...
Is that better now?
So far, it's better on here.
Reshaped.
Huh?
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
it is. It's better.
Okay. Yes. Let's keep going.
From there, he reasoned that the history of the Earth could be determined by understanding how processes such as erosion and sedimentation work in the present day. The assumption that the same geological processes that operate in the present have always operated came to be known as uniformitarianism. Hutton noticed the deposition rates for sediments and erosion. He noted characteristics in granites which indicated it had once been molten, but was protruding metamorphic schist, indicating that the metamorphic schist must have formed previous to the granite. He recognized unconformities in the strata resulting from obvious erosion and, in some cases, even breaking and resulting in subsequent strata running perpendicular. He also saw that there were also spans of time where there was no deposition, a period known as a hiatus. Hutton realized that a single catastrophe like a flood or earthquake couldn't account for any of this, but that a series of
for them, it's just
They're not seeing a video?
No.
Yeah, it's not sharing to YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, can't see the video on YouTube.
There we go.
Geological events could account
Sorry,
for
everyone.
all of it. A close friend, John Playfair, mused that Hutton was among the first to notice that a vast proportion of the present rocks are composed of materials afforded by the destruction of bodies, animal, vegetable, and mineral, of more ancient formation. Hutton's ideas were hotly debated at first, being in direct opposition to catastrophism. Between 1830 and 1833, Charles Lyell published the first of his 3-volume tome with a lengthy title, Principles of Geology, being an attempt to explain the former changes of the Earth's surface by reference to causes now in operation. Principles of Geology built upon Hutton's uniformitarianism theories. Lyell looked to earthquakes as a creative force, noting the results of then recent earthquakes causing surface irregularities such as faults, fissures, stratigraphic displacements, and depressions. He also noticed the frequency of certain types of fossils in tertiary layers. Based on the type, frequency, and proportion of fossils, he renamed the tertiary period layers the Cenozoic era and separated it into epochs called Pliocene, Miocene, and Eocene. After Lyell and many other scientists observed that certain fossils only appear in particular layers, these fossils became known as index fossils. Although index fossils couldn't be used to absolutely date anything, they did offer a practical starting point for the dating methods to come. Lyell also noticed erratic stones and boulders which showed no geological context, obviously having come from someplace else, and he deduced that glaciers were the only known natural force which could relocate such large bodies. Since glaciers in the northern hemisphere generally flow south, this proposition necessarily predicted the later confirmed fact that the sources for these erratics would be found closer to the poles. Lyell would continue to study geological anomalies and continued to revise his theories over the 12 subsequent editions of Principles of Geology. Eventually, he calculated, due to the rates of the natural forces he studied, a minimum age of 300 million years for Earth. Contrary to creationist claims, there are several places around the world where strata from all geological eras do exist in a single area. For example, you can view the entire column in the Bonaparte Basin in Australia and the Williston Basin in North Dakota. It can be quite fascinating to realize that every strata of different material represents a time when the climate and topography were vastly different. These serve as reminders that change is the rule, not the exception. Lyell's calculated age was based on knowledge of many geological processes. He simply calculated the minimum amount of time required for each type of layer he saw and combined those individual figures. While he was accurate in extrapolating the minimum time required for each layer, he was completely unaware of another, as yet unknown force of nature. We will investigate this force in the next episode, Evolutionist Dating Methods Part 2, which builds on the discovery.
Yeah, which is another complete horse poop thing, right? And it's like, what's insane to me about this is because I know the Earth has gone through changes. I know that the Earth has gone through events, whether worldwide events or whether local events, and those can drastically change the landscape very easily. And so do things change? Yeah, absolutely. And so even the shifting of Earth, like, I don't know if anyone here has like ever had, let's say, you know, like a piece of property that they used to go to as a child, and now when they went to there as an adult, let's say it was kind of, you know, abandoned, how quickly nature takes that over. How quickly that barn is no longer a barn, or that shed is no longer a shed. It now is like completely encased in a tree, or a bush is grown out so much that it's there is no cabin, it's just the bush. And so I bring that up because I think these things can change very quickly. I don't think they're needing millions of years, which, by the way, is just like, you might as well, when you say a million years, you might as well say infinity, because we have no concept of a million years. You know what I mean? No concept whatsoever. So to say something is, it must be a million years, that's completely imaginary, because you don't understand what could even take place in a million years. So anyways.
No.
So yeah, I think he brought up some interesting parts, right, where we see the fossils, and it doesn't perfectly correlate with just the flood. But like me, I'm a believer that when the Tower of Babel was destroyed, that was also a worldwide thing that felt. That was probably, in my opinion, where the mud floods came from. That's when all these, you know, structures were buried and you know, basically trying to get rid of, and then we come along later and find them again, in my opinion. But I digress. All right, let's check a little bit more about some geology and the hoax that it is, because isn't it interesting? They have all these interconnecting premises that basically say that they're right? They have the science behind it. They know, because look, we have the geological column. Look, we know it takes millions of years to rocks to erode this way. And so anytime that you can put a little crack in those ideas, I think it's important. So as much as I don't agree with Kent Hovid, I think he does bring some good scientifical topics up into mind, from at least from a person that believes that it was created. Whether they created a globe or not is a different story. But yeah, let's check this out.
Charlie Lyell wrote this book, 1830. In this book, he mocked at scriptures. He hated the Bible. You can see it mocking all through here. In here, he and other fellows back in that time, Cuvier, Strata Smith, and some of these guys, they invented the geologic column. How many have ever heard of the geologic?
Okay, sorry. I have to mock him just a little bit. Former science teacher? No, he's still very much a science priest. Anyways.
Smith and some of these guys, they invented the geologic column. How many have ever heard of the geologic column before? They say each of the layers is a different age, you know, Cenozoic, Mesozoic, Paleozoic, Archaeozoic, all them Zoic boys. And they gave each layer of rock a name, like maybe you saw the movie Jurassic Park, and an age, and an index fossil. This was done in 1830, way before there ever was a carbon dating or potassium argon dating or lead-208, lead-206, uranium-235, uranium-238. Didn't exist, folks. The dating text didn't exist. They just made up these numbers out of the clear blue sky. The geologic column is the Bible for the evolutionist. It can only be found one place in the world, the textbooks. There's no geologic column, and they know it. This fellow says, if there were a column of sediments, unfortunately, no such column exists. The geologic column is a hoax. It does not exist. It is stupid. Those layers cannot be different ages. If the geologic column were all in one place, it would be 100 miles thick. Didn't happen. By the way, if the geologic column were true, if you look at the side of Grand Canyon and see all these thousands of layers, why are there no erosion marks between the layers? Don't you think if one layer sat there for 10 million years waiting for the next one, it would rain once or twice? No erosion marks between the layers. Interesting. Oh, something to consider anyway. Those layers are all deposited very rapidly, and I think we can demonstrate that scientifically. If you take a jar of dirt, put some water in it, and shake it up, and set it down, it'll settle into layers for you automatically. It just takes a few minutes. It's called hydrologic sorting. The gravels go to the bottom, and then the sands and the silts and the clays. It'll sort just like that, folks. Go home and do it with a jar. You see what I'm talking about? So we all drove down to the museum. The guy had met us at the door.
I do want to make a quick point about something that he's saying, because the video we just watched, right, seemingly contradicted it by saying that, well, we see that that's not always the case. And I think, me personally, I think, well, if you have a flood and you have that much water above, I think you're getting multiple layers of this sorting happening as it's falling, as you have all of this intermixing of all of this craziness going on. So to me, it's not crazy that if this is a layer, let's say this arm is gravel, sand, dirt, clay, etc., and this is another that it would make sense that they could maybe like fold into each other and kind of make these irregular patterns in the way that we see when we're digging on the earth. Another thing I want to mention real quick is he said if you had all of these geological layers, and now again back to the first the video that we just watched, that guy said, okay, well, it takes this amount of time for this much of dirt to create a layer. So if we do that math backwards from the geological column, that's going to be 100 miles thick. Does anyone else know what is supposedly 100 miles thick? Anyone else? Anyone else know something else that is supposedly 100 miles thick?
No. 100 miles thick. No. Well.
The crust?
The crust of the earth is supposedly 100 miles thick. Right?
Okay.
And we've dug 8 miles.
Yeah.
So we've dug 8% of that geological column by their quote-unquote math to prove how old the earth is. It's literally preposterous.
It is. You know, it's really sad that Kent Hovind, he knows these are lies. He knows what they're.
Why do you think it is? Do you think it's like an ego thing?
I don't know. Why doesn't he know the earth is flat? I just.
That's when I like. I'm not actually doing. I like. Don't get me. I'm not making any claims here, but that's when I'm gonna like. Is he a shill? Because like I'm not. I really don't want to question his heart, but I'm like, if you're that in the understanding that
exactly
they are gonna go through whatever they like, they'll say whatever to lead people astray, and you've seen them lie and lie and lie about all and make all of these claims that you yourself can disprove, right?
Right.
but yet this one thing you won't let go of. It really does make me question the integrity. I'm sorry to say it, but it's like, how we're not presented with this information. And if I feel like if at the very least you would, to be intellectually honest, you would need to, even if you disagree with it, you don't want it to be true, you would have to look at all of the evidence with an open mind, not to disprove it, not sitting there saying, nope, I can prove it this, but have an open mind. So it makes me question his integrity at the very least.
Oh. Never thought of that, Bader.
He said, would you like me to give you a tour? We said, that would be great, sir. The first place we stopped on the tour was the geologic time scale, the big chart. You got it behind glass so the kids can't touch it. This is holy, sacred. And the guide said, now, boys and girls, this layer of rock right here is about 70 million years old. My daughter was 12 at the time. She raised her hand. She said, mister, how do you know that layer is 70 million years old? He said, well, honey, we tell the age of the layers by what kind of fossils we find in them. They're called index fossils. Oh, she said, thank you, sir. We walked around the other side of the dinosaur, and we're standing over here, and the guide said, now, folks, these bones you're looking at are about 100 million years old. My daughter raised her hand again. She said, mister, how do you know those bones are 100 million years old? He said, honey, that's a good question. We tell the age of the bones by which layer they come from. She said, excuse me, sir, but when we were standing over there, you told me you knew the age of the layers by the bones, and now you're telling me you know the age of the bones by the layers. She said, isn't that circular reasoning? I thought, wow, a chip off the old block. That guide had the strangest look on his face. It was almost as if he were thinking. He looked at my daughter. He looked at me. I wasn't about to help him. I thought, wow, this is going to be good. I got to hear this. He looked back at my daughter. He said, you're right. That is circular reasoning. I never thought of that before. Folks, geologic column is a joke. It doesn't exist. I'll just give you a couple of quotes here. This guy says, the rocks do date the fossils, but the fossils date the rocks more accurately. Stratigraphy cannot avoid this kind of reasoning if it insists on using only temporal concepts because circularity is inherent. You have to use circular reasoning to get it right. Well, that's stupid.
Very stupid.
You don't need to be too bright to figure out that's stupid, okay? This geologic column contains limestone scattered all through.
How do you know that the Earth is a ball? Because of gravity. Well, what is gravity? It's because of the Earth is a ball. So dumb.
About the geologic column. I like to ask him the question. I say, fellows, you have limestone scattered all through this column. How do you know the age? It's all limestone. I mean, if I handed you a piece of limestone, how would you know if it's 100 million year old Jurassic limestone or 600 million year old Cambrian limestone? I mean, how would you tell the difference? There's only one way they can tell, by the index fossils. That's how it's done, folks. That is stupid. Because those fossils don't count for anything, as we'll see in a minute. They tell the kids each of these layers is a different age. 100 million, 200 million, 300 million, real impressive, huge numbers. Now, Charlie Darwin did not like round numbers. He wanted to be more precise. He said the Wealdian deposits are 306,662,400 years old. Now, okay, Charlie, I think that's stupid. Those layers are not different ages, folks. All over the world we find petrified trees standing up, running through multiple rock layers. Now, if you get a petrified tree standing up, running through different rock layers, I don't think it's smart to say those layers are vastly different ages. Petrified trees in the vertical position, they find them all over the world. Okay, here's one from Alabama, come out of a seam of coal, through 20 feet of rock, into another seam of coal. They found about 3 dozen of them, I think, in that one little coal mine, one little area, while they're digging the coal out. Petrified trees standing up. Cookeville, Tennessee, they found a bunch of them. This one's 30 feet tall, standing up. Joggins, Nova Scotia is famous for their petrified trees standing up in the vertical position. All over the area there, folks. Those trees did not get slowly covered by the sediments over millions of years. They would rot and fall down. Sometimes the petrified trees are upside down, running through many rock layers. Scientists estimate at the bottom of Spirit Lake in Mount St. Helens there are now 20,000 trees that were blown out by the volcano. Thousands of them are standing up in the bottom of the lake, already buried 15 feet deep in mud. None of them grew there. Those trees are going to petrify. Only takes a few years to petrify a piece of wood. In the laboratory, it can be done in 24 hours. I got tons of material on how fast things can petrify. Those layers are not different ages. They all formed in one big flood in the days of Noah. To tell the kids the layers are different ages is stupid. That just
How
simply is
dare
not true.
you? Yeah, great video there. And even though I don't agree with Kent Hovind, he is a heliocentric high priest. I do appreciate his humor and his knowledge on the scientifical topics, and coming from them from a stance of a believer. So he obviously still a brother, and but I still mock my family. I still mock my friends when they say stupid stuff or believe stupid stuff.
He came to our church.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Nice. All right, sweet. So let's look at a few other systems we got going on here. I really want to play this, but I just realized this is National Geographic. There's a 0% chance that I'm going to be able to play this and not get booted. So we're going to skip that. Let's. Yeah, this one, it's pretty much a very similar thing, so let's check this out, and then we'll watch another one kind of right along with this.
Thank you to Skillshare for supporting this episode of Journey to the Microcosmos. And if you're one of the first 1,000 walking along the home of plants and fungi and microbes, the soil itself might just seem like dirt, common, ubiquitous, mundane. But dirt is essential. It is where everything you eat comes from. It recycles wastes, it cleans water, it makes your life better in millions of tiny ways you never notice. And also,
guys, you know what's so crazy and what I love about kind of the system that we have here is y'all post these videos. I said all of these things. I just check out maybe if I have the time, like the first 10 seconds to kind of put it in an order where it connects to other things, right? But like even the things I didn't watch all of this and him saying like how we can just look at dirt and just see it as just this inanimate object, but actually and so to then see that sink in this video of literally, it's just so cool, so awesome. I love sinks.
it is mysterious, housing a complex network of reactions between plants and microbes. We can't see it with our eyes, but it's like an economy built on chemical signals and nutrients and competition that take place in the microcosmos, but that shape the macro world as well. Now, microbes require water to thrive, which can be challenging in soil. On this channel, we've seen many examples of the protective cysts that many microbes form when the habitat around them dries out, like these ciliates that will remain in this state until the conditions become right for them to emerge again. But protective cysts are only a small part of the story. Soil is itself a mix of organic material, minerals, water, and air. And that fraction of water doesn't just sustain the plant life we see above ground, it provides a home to many, many microorganisms that remain hidden below. Soil is also not some mound of dirt.
Literally, again, we were talking about bacteria and how, it's easy to be like, oh, get rid of all germs. But how important it is. It's just, gosh, I love sinks like this. So cool.
Yep.
That would be uniform but for the interruption of animals and plant roots. That world underneath our feet is made up of...
It's doing the weird stuff for y'all?
Yep, it's garbling again.
Okay, let me switch this, and I will remember to give y'all audio again. So let's drop this.
And don't drop the video this time.
Yeah.
Of layers and zones. For example, there's bulk soil, the area that is untouched by plant roots. Bulk soil is home to microbes. But at the turn of the 20th century, a German scientist named Lorenz Hiltner noticed that the closer the soil was to a plant's root, the higher bacterial activity he would observe. And from his work, he defined not just a new term, but a whole new world, the world of the rhizosphere.
Let's correct him. It's actually a rhizoplane.
When Hiltner defined the rhizosphere in 1904, he described
rhizoplane
as the area.
What was that, Robert?
How dare you?
Of the soil that most immediately surrounded a plant root. But in time, this definition has been expanded to describe not just the soil around the roots, but also the parts of the root that get overtaken by microbes. But the rhizosphere isn't just a location. It's a whole set of interactions between plants and microbes, and with the complex ecological relationship that builds, the soil of the rhizosphere can actually look quite different from bulk soil, from the types of nutrients to its pH. But different plants have different needs, and so the rhizosphere is a dynamic and varied thing that changes according to the microbial communities that inhabit it and the complicated chemical language.
Like, as weird and kind of creepy as these things look, like,
I know.
Think about how sophisticated that is. Like, that's... People always want to, like, kind of chop it down and being like, oh, these are just, single-cell, multi-cell organisms, they're just... But, like, dude, these things are... And I was also thinking, like, about this is, like, how they were talking about the rhizoplane and how there's like they found this whole world that's going on here, and even that parts where the bacteria kind of overtake the root. And I just think about that, like the fact that trees and stuff are fighting against bad bacteria for them, and positive bacteria are helping them, and then you have. It's kind of like you have a plant like a rose bush, right? And it's gonna naturally have aphids on it, right? But then the aphids, their presence there brings the ladybugs, bugs. It brings the wasps, whatever, their predators to then eat them, and it creates this whole little ecosystem just in this one rose bush. And then and then that amplifies out. Well, going all the way down 600 times, so we can't even see these things unless we have these apparatuses to allow us to. We're seeing into a world that works exactly like our world, but it's on such a smaller scale. You know what I mean? And it's just. It's literally mind-blowing, this earth and the inheritance we're receiving, right? Like the power over all the heaven and all the earth, like all of it. You know what I mean? That includes what we're looking at here. I'm not in that kind of mindset that, an apple after sin, rotted, and an apple before sin didn't rot. I think all of these systems were in place, and death isn't necessarily a bad thing. Decay isn't necessarily a bad thing, because in order to produce wheat, right, we need the microbes to eat the dead pieces of the plants and the bugs and the animals and all of that stuff. We needed to eat it and decompose it to break down those nutrients, so that then the plant can absorb that, so then that we can eat that food and absorb it, so that we can then excrete that, right? And then that also provide for other creatures to then to not only survive but to thrive, And so we live in such abundance.
Yeah, and it's not this, Buddhist notion of, yin and yang where, you require death to have life. Like, yeah, there is that. Like, plants require other things to die so that they can decompose, so they can bring, what they need for the plant. Absolutely. But it is no wonder that humans are the only ones who are given the promise to inherit life eternally. And that was not given to trees or animals or insects or microbes or anything else.
Yeah, because that's the life we have right now, right? Which is a finite thing. This body, this physical shell, the way that it works, it's gonna eventually deconstruct, right? It's eventually going to come apart at the seams, right? And so that's also why I was saying God's hands on it. This creation, no, he created all the systems in the 6th day and rested on the 7th. Like, he's still a part of these systems, and I think that's never going to go away. Just because trees don't have eternal life, and I'm not saying you're saying this, Kyle. You're saying very much so the opposite, but just so there's no confusion, we're not saying that just because trees don't have eternal life that means after, heaven is on earth, there's no more trees. No, we're just saying, no, there's still that process. But out of all creation, he gave us this special promise that we would, be born of water and of spirit, and that we would, inherit the kingdom of earth, right? And that his son, as he said, I iterated this in the beginning, as his father shared the father's throne with the son, so will the son share it with us, his brothers and sisters. And that's why we know who he is, who he says he is, because he's like the Father in all his ways, which is what was predicted. And that came from the earth, that came from the dust, guys. This whole thing was created because God decided to create earth, right? And how beautiful it is, no matter all of the negative and all of the scary that seemingly is coming, we know that the Father used this very thing to bring that promise through his Son, that would then share his inheritance and give it to us, that we would get to inherit this earth forever with him. And that's so amazing and so beautiful.
Well, even this thing, yeah, I know you went on that, but now I'm looking at a creepy little thing, the creepy little amiibo thing. He made those. I mean, it blows your mind.
Yep,
it does when you get down to the micro. And
think about how small that is and how much of it's taking a place everywhere.
No one will even see it. None of his intelligent creation, what we consider his thoughtful creation, the animals include, and then us as well. We don't ever see this, not until we have the technology to look this closely. But as far as throughout all history, it was only the Father who ever really even knew they were there. Maybe the angels, but it's hidden from us. But as we go and we search throughout creation, it's just right there. You can't escape it. It's like we know it's right in front of our eyes, but yet hidden because we don't have the ability to see it, but it's just right there.
Well, and here's another example. Think about a mountain that you live by, or a hill you think about, or a field that you drive by. Think about how many worms, just worms, are in that dirt, right? And that is a whole system, a whole ecosystem that is taking place every day. Like, there are literally right now out in your yard worms that are digging holes, and as they're digging the holes, they're aerating the soil, and as they're eating, they're fertilizing the soil, that then the bacteria that comes and eats it secretes something that then strengthens the soil. And you have all of these beautiful systems working in conjunction with each other all around us all the time. Like, even on your dirty wall, even in your bathroom, in your toilet, you have these systems going on, and it's so easy. Excuse me. It's just so easy to take it for granted. But if we didn't have decay, you would just have dead things everywhere. right? Like you wouldn't have grass, you would literally have like dead bodies, bugs, whatever, just piled on top of each other. We'd be walking on skeletons forever.
They turn into
After today's program, I'm gonna be like Howard Hughes and be a recluse, worried about all the germs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. So even in the very smallest parts, the Father has made these complex systems for our good and for His glory. So, and speaking of that, this is let's check this out. It's a little loud. Apologize.
As he went along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" "Neither this man nor his parents sinned," said Jesus. "But this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. As long as it is day, we must do the works of him who..."
You know what's kind of interesting about that? I want to stop real quick because it's kind of totally off topic, but isn't it kind of interesting? They're like, so hey, do you think it was it the mother, like was it the parents or the child, like the person who sinned that has him the way it is, right? And what's interesting, right, is because we do know that if you're being obedient to the commandments, right, if you're not sinning, if you're being righteous, you have that protection over you. If you have the fear of a God, of the Father in your heart, you have that protection over you. And so they're like, well, okay, who opened up the door? Who let the sin in that this could happen? And so I don't think I don't think that then Yeshua is taking away from that truth of that being the case. I think he's saying, no, that's not the case. The case here is the reason why he's blind is because so that the Father's glory can be shown to you right here and now, right? And so people will often use like that as he's saying it was never about if you were blessed or cursed.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, so let's keep going. I digress.
"Who sent me? Night is coming, when no one can work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world." After saying this, he spat on the ground, made some mud with the saliva, and put it on the man's eyes. "Go," he told him, "wash in the pool of Siloam." This word means sent. So the man went and washed.
I want to do that right now. Get my eyesight.
And came home seeing. His neighbors and those who had formerly seen him begging asked, "Isn't this the same man who used to sit and beg?" Some claimed that he was. Others said, "No, he only looks like him." But he himself insisted, "I am the man." "How then were your eyes opened?" they asked. He replied, "The man they called Jesus made some mud and put it on my eyes. He told me to go to Siloam and wash. So I went and washed, and then I could see." Where is this man? They asked him. I don't know, he said.
Oops, wrong button. Wrong button clicked. Oh my gosh, what did I do? Okay.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's good. I think that's such a great addition, Robert, because, you know, and you bring some points up in the chat, is, you know, like he spit it and he made it into mud. And, right. And you know, and we, just before, right, it's like, in that scientific video, it's like, okay, you have all those bits and minerals, the dirt and all that, right? But then you have that little bit of water, and that little bit of water brings life to all of that substance. And so in the same way, you know, like he spit and brought life to it, right? And you have all the bacteria in your mouth, right? That he brought life into that dirt. Just like his father breathed, he spit, right? And so there's a real interesting parallel there where the Father created and the Son healed. And so I think that's really cool to kind of show there. And I wanted to show this. We're not going to watch it. But you bring up mud baths. And, you know, I think that's really interesting because we talked about when we were talking about, like, the beer bugs and stuff like that, how one way of, you know, getting things out of your body that are negative is by sweating it in. Well, what about sitting in these things that are rich in minerals and things that our body needs in order to absorb it? And you know that very much. So if you've ever put lotion or sunscreen on, right, that if you rub something onto your skin, what happens? Your skin absorbs it. It goes away, right? And so we know the skin is an organ and it's absorbing and breathing in and out, and so very cool addition there. Okay, sweet. So we're gonna watch a little bit about this. Oh no, let's do this first. Okay, yep, that. This I think is a little quick video, yeah. Okay, yeah, let's play these two real quick first. And then we'll get into this part of it. I just think this is so cool. It's you know, obviously the same over and over. I don't know if any of y'all, when I watched this, I was totally breathing in and breathing out with it. But the reason why I want to show you, because again, see, this is something that, let's say you're by a river, you're by an inlet, you know, etc. You don't see this process happening, right? Because this process is happening over many times. You know, the breath isn't this shallow. It's actually over hours. It's breathing in and breathing out, and it's a long breath, right? And so you're not seeing it. And so again, it's easy to kind of take for granted. And so I thought that was really cool. And then let's jump over to here.
Among the things that make the Earth hospitable to life
is the planet spinning in an endless void. Oh wait, no, it's not. But we're gonna jump here.
And the Saturn rocket.
Which is rearranging continents and sometimes even pushing each other deeper into the planet, a process called subduction. When the ocean's crust is
Okay, so we're gonna. This is. They say some cool things in here, but it's mostly filled of poo. So let's actually go here. Wow, that was very loud. Apologize.
What is that, Vader?
That is the Earth.
Moving?
Yeah.
Time lapse? Or what?
No, lots and lots of videos like that. There's water underneath that. The soil is
There's
all
water, there's air, there's the movement from some of the trees is, helping with the the movement of other trees. But you can see
shot by videographer Gene Arthur in a Canadian forest shows the ground appearing to
all the
swell
ground,
almost
the
as if it's breathing.
roots and everything it's almost like a carpet. If you had carpet floating on water.
Uh-huh.
Are catching gusts of winds, just like the sail of a sailboat, causing them to sway back and
It's
forth.
breathing.
The result is that their wide but shallow root system is causing the ground to swell up and down as the trees
My
sway
goodness.
side to side.
Huh. That was interesting.
Yeah. Alrighty, and we're not gonna watch the full 10 minutes of this. Well, let's go here because this one's a little boring. We're gonna skip through it, and then we'll end with that one.
We are really grateful to be part of this.
Did someone say something, or was that in the video?
No, it was me laughing.
Oh, okay.
Incredibly dynamic
Skip
ecosystem.
As Amy said, our task when we started working together was to find how understanding what features our brain pays attention to when we touch objects, that's my body of research, how it intersects with how we approach designing interventions in the integrated product service ecosystems that we navigate every day. So this was a challenge. And what we came up with was this idea that there...
I totally read that wrong. This has nothing to do with I thought this was okay.
Something.
Yeah, no, designing at the intersections. I missed that part. Okay, let's just go here.
In this segment, we'll discuss the importance of understanding animals' roles in ecosystems and provide an overview of the various ecological interactions and rhythms, including predation, herbivora, competition, which can be broadly chemical elements.
What the?
These factors influence the distribution and abundance of living organisms within an ecosystem, shaping the...
Okay, I don't want to do the AI. Okay, well we're close to clock out time anyway, so I'll just get rid of that, and we'll kind of chat for a few minutes before we call it a stream. So yeah, I think again with all of these topics, we could have 12,000 episodes on the Earth, right, and never ever hit every single part. And I think when we do have these topics, right, we're getting a good skim over it, a good kind of idea of where at least we're kind of coming from our different point of views and what it is, but we can at least agree that the Earth is an important element in the story, right? And so it definitely is owed some time of investigation and discussion. So
can't live without Earth.
Yeah, literally we wouldn't be here, right? Because our ancestors were made from the dirt.
We'd be floating in outer space.
Or in the water. Or would we even have anything? Like we couldn't float because we wouldn't exist. Sweet. All right. Well, let's kind of give our a few closing remarks as we say our goodbyes, and we'll wrap up the stream. Let's jump over to Maggie and Shamgar first. Thoughts?
That's a lot to process, but I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay. What about you, Maggie? Any thoughts about any of the topics we talked about?
It's very interesting, and it's awesome to get to watch it all work.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, and being a farmer, literally watching it, right? Like you see you don't see all the intricate, right, bacteria and stuff, though you may know it's there. but you're seeing literally seeds being planted and this whole thing happening that requires input, right, from us. It requires us to be good stewards. It requires husbandry in order for that, and it's like, it's a system that was put in place to produce things, right? It's like if you treat, just like with having sheep or animals, like you breed them, that there's this whole system that it's so beautiful. And so I envy those that get to live around that more than than not. So sweet. Well, Shamgar, if you have anything that you would like to say, feel free to interrupt, or if you have it now. If not, we can move on.
Yeah, we can keep it going.
Okay.
We can.
All right, Masha, what's your thoughts, sister?
Now, I'm going to say something totally off topic, but what I thought of when that whole little microism and everything was have you ever seen The Who?
The Who?
Was it the Little World?
Yeah.
In a little floating. Is it called The Who?
Horton Hears a Who.
Oh yeah. What is it?
Horton Hears a Who.
Horton Hears a Who.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
we are here. We are here. We are here.
That little bitty microscopic thing that floats around, and it's a whole nother world.
Yeah. No, I bet like if we were shrunk in a proportionate size with those things, it would be like they were monsters. You know what I mean? Like they'd be straight out of nightmares. You're muted, Kyle.
Oh, I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure they made some movies kind of depicting that recently.
Yeah.
Ant-Man, saga, that whole thing.
Totally. Sweet. All right. Well, thank you for joining us, sister. What about you, Robert? What's your thoughts?
What about Dr. Shrinker?
Dr. Shrinker?
Or the other movie with Rick Moranis. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
But evolution, talk about the simple, where we all started with a simple single cell organism. But you look at these little microbes, and those little guys, they have to do everything we do.
Yeah.
Can survive, and they're just itty bitty. You can't see them except under a microscope.
Yeah.
But this whole world, I mean, as you look at some of those videos we've seen, you just see how much everything is alive.
Yeah.
Even the earth is alive. We talked about the water has memory and just so much. It's just so fascinating that everything's alive.
Yes.
And we got all kinds of stuff living inside of us too. That's kind of creepy though too.
Yeah. And that, right? Like, and that's what I was kind of saying is like, to me, when he designed us with those microbes, right? Like as a part of us, right? At least our dirt version, right? What we saw, what happens when you take dust and you add water into it, it is the basis for life to then, right? So if he's starting there, it would make sense that those would be a part of creation. And how beautiful part of creation it is, right? Because it's literally what gives us fruit and vegetables and, the grass for the cows and the sheep and the goats, you know what I mean? So cool. All right.
Life.
Yeah. The circle of earth, or circle of the life of the earth. Sweet. All right, Kyle, what are your thoughts, brother?
Yeah, man, the complexity of the earth and the soil is just it's wild. And to kind of piggyback on what you guys were saying with the whole the microbiome within ourselves that exists with all the bacteria in our gut and our body, with the microbiome of the soil, that both require each other to be balanced. And it just kind of blows my mind that people really believe that a lifeless rock that didn't have any microbes or bacteria just magically managed to just form life out of nothing. And none of those things pre-existed before, and it's just like all those random things just came about to exist. It really blows me away. You know, we see all this on this small scale and we go, oh yeah, it all just started on that little scale in one spot on the earth and just expanded across the entire thing. And that's crazy.
Now, it's not only that, but it's like, okay, that one microbe, why, if it had life, why would it ever change anything? It's like, it would be the only thing. It's kind of like, why wouldn't just grass be the thing that all plants were? Because then it wouldn't have to fight with itself. It wouldn't have to fight with the weeds or the trees or you know what I mean? And it's like, well, because there's a balance there. Even in nature, right? You don't just have a big patch of one thing. You have kind of these different things. And even if and I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing to have one big patch of thing, but even if you do that, nature even, you know, you still have weeds. You still have the tear inside there. So no matter how perfect you sow, right? Even let's say you sow and there's no wheat, you know, no tears in the seed, you know, a bird flies by that eats that seed, and now it's fertilizer and growing a weed in your farm. So that whole system, is so fascinating. And just like all those system connects together, all the topics we talk about all connect together, and it's like, that's why one of the reasons why I know we have a creator, right? Because you see this system and you can't just say that system came about by irregular random events.
Vader, do you... Okay. It's like, if they don't believe in the Big Bang or whatever, how can you just... What do you think then? If you don't have some kind of a thought of... You've got to go, how did this even become about? You know? I mean, it's like... They think about it, but nobody thinks about it.
I think what it is, right, is people want to give their agency away to others. That's why churchianity is such a big thing, right? Because they don't have to read the scriptures. They don't have to look into the world. They don't have to, you know, to do it themselves. They can rely on another person to do it for them, right? And that's what's cool about the show, you know, little spotlight, is that, you know, we skim the surface. That's one of the reasons why we skim the surface, is because if these topics are interesting to you, we hope it's like the catalyst that gets you to, hey, I want that thing about the, you know, geological columns. That was really interesting. I'm going to deep dive into that. Or that thing about the microbes and the, you know, what is it called? The symbiotic relationship they have with the human body. You know, that's super interesting. I want to learn more. You have all these ideas that you can kind of dive deeper into, and so I love these episodes. They fly by, and I have lots of fun. So hope y'all did too. Hope those that are watching enjoyed. Remember to dig deep. And tomorrow we will be on at 4 p.m. Eastern for the Peace Seekers episode. It's part 11 of the Book of Enoch, if you're interested in hearing me read out the scriptures. If not, we'll see you not next week, because it is me and my wife's anniversary weekend. So I'm going to skip the stream so I don't have to... She's not having to take care of the kids while I'm in here, right? It's usually Dad's duty to put them to bed. But anyways, until next time, guys, Shabbat Shalom, and hope y'all all have a great week coming up. And until next time, guys, remember that Abba loved you first. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you to all the new recent subscribers and supporters. We do appreciate you. Have a good night. Good weekend, everybody.